I have David Barthel here with us today. We're Artist Spotlight 2020 for the Millstream Arts Festival and the Art Crawl downtown with St. Cloud. We're working and collaborating with them this year, and we're really happy to have David Barthel, one of our Best in Show winners a couple years ago uh, for Millstream Arts Festival. And David, could you start by just sharing a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Sure. Yeah, as you said, my name is David Barthel. I'm a fine art landscape photographer. I live in Sauk Rapids, so just outside St. Cloud here. And I do my business name is North Shore Images Photography. And as you can expect, much of my subject matter is from the North Shore of Lake Superior. And I spend a lot of time up there capturing the rugged landscape, the forests, the waterfalls, and just the whims of the big lake. I mean, that lake is so big it creates its own weather, generates enormous waves. I've seen waves up to 20 feet and captured them in images, and that's what inspires me as far as photography goes. And that was my initial inspiration going into it. And I've also photographed the Western United States too. So I've made probably about a half a dozen trips out there and visited almost every state except New Mexico, and have a nice collection of images from there as well. And basically, when I'm out in the field, I'm kind of out there seeking dynamic compositions that kind of have an intrinsic artistic design. It's more the design that is what I'm looking for in a photograph, not so much the location specifically, but the design. And I try to top that off with some decisive moment like the sun poking above the horizon, or the wave crashing against the rocks on the shore, that just kind of add the icing on the cake to that particular image.
So,
And
what brought you to photography, David? What was it that started photography for you?
well, I had a camera since I was quite young, 8 years old. Bought a 110 film camera with some money I had as a gift, and started taking a lot of pictures with that. And then when I got into high school, I took a ninth grade industrial technology class that had a photography component to it, and that was black and white film photography. But that was the first time I was introduced to SLR type cameras and manual cameras. And so that kind of piqued my interest, I think. And eventually, in the later years of high school, I eventually bought my own film SLR and started experimenting with that. I kind of was really attracted to how different lenses can give you different perspectives of scenes, and how filters can change the mood. You could attach a neutral density filter and really slow down the shutter speed and make waterfalls silky smooth and kind of stuff like that. And eventually, I decided that I wanted to share it with the world, and eventually developed a website back in 2004. And what younger people might not realize is back then, sharing your work online was kind of a big deal, because there was not social media, there wasn't Facebook or any of that. Facebook actually just started in 2004. So to have work online and to bring it to the world was kind of a big thing back then. And so I wasn't really a pioneer in that. I kind of followed in the footsteps of some others that were doing it already, but it was still pretty new at that time. So that was kind of a driving focus. And then as I was building my portfolio, I was also going to school for electrical engineering here at St. Cloud State. And once I graduated from there, I went up to work in Pequot Lakes for a company that did automated meter reading design. And so I helped design the radio components to their systems up there. And then in 2008 was laid off from that. And that was kind of the nudge that pushed me into photography as a business. And in 2011, I did my first art festival. And at that point, I decided that it was a perfect fit for what I like to do. I liked being involved with special events and So that year I did 7 art festivals. Millstream was actually one of those 7. And I have been a part of Millstream every year since then. So it's one of the only 3 art festivals that I've done that I've done every single year, Millstream. And
Well, we appreciate it. We really look forward to having you in the festival, and you really do bring your A game when you come to the festival, and we really appreciate when artists really take the time to, create such a beautiful space for our festival goers to really enjoy. And I know when people are walking through your space and experiencing your work and looking at it, what is the one thing you hope people leave with after viewing your work and seeing it in person or online?
I hope that they see beauty in what I'm presenting, and maybe it reminds them of a special vacation that they've gone on. Maybe it just reminds them of some special moment they've had out in nature, and they want to bring it inside to their home, above their sofa, above their bed, something to remind them of special moments they've had in their life. And sometimes it actually works in reverse too, where I was at a show down in Iowa several years ago, and there was a customer that bought a piece of work. It was a long split rock panorama that I had done. And that fall, well, they had actually shared with me that they had not been to that location before. So that fall, they actually took the trip up there, and sure enough, they called me and said, I think we found the spot that you took our photograph. So that was kind of
Oh, you inspired them. That's wonderful.
it.
I
Oh,
love that. I love that.
yeah,
Let's see some inspiring pieces. Let's see some inspiring works. Why don't you share this first piece with us, David?
yeah. I call that one Into the Surrealm, and surrealm is actually not a word, but I was kind of combining it with surreal and realm. And how I created the image is I had the camera and was holding it in my hand, or I had it on a tripod. I'm not sure exactly at the time. But what I did is I tilted the camera up and down while the shutter was open, so I could capture some movement in the shot and kind of blur the leaves and the tree bark a little bit. But I did it in such a way that kind of maintained a sense of detail. So I kind of really like that blend of abstract but yet realism. And it has a nice autumn color palette, which I really, really like too. I think it really is a very pleasing image overall.
It is. It has a watercolor feel to it, also a little bit of
It
a
does.
wash. I know this piece has quite a story.
It does. This piece, I woke up early, probably about 3:30 in the morning, so I could be there at 2 hours before sunrise, because I knew that this was a place where photographers congregated, and I wanted to be the first one there because I had a certain spot in mind that I wanted to make the photograph. So I got there long before daylight. It was pitch dark yet, and parked my car, donned my headlight, and had not ever actually been to the spot before. I've only seen pictures of it. And so it was only a quarter of a mile hike, but the trails out there are not really like what we have in Minnesota. Like in Minnesota, they're kind of carved through the trees or carved through the grasslands. There's a lot of desert landscape out there with maybe a few shrubs and bushes, but it's hard to tell exactly where the trail goes. So I had to kind of rely on these cairns that were spaced every so often. And there was a period where I was like, I wasn't quite sure if I was going to make it, but then I kind of saw the faint glow of the arch in the distance from my headlamp, and I knew I reached the right spot. And then not only, or not, I would say 10 minutes later, even I saw the headlights from other people coming from behind. So I had just made it there as the first person.
Ah,
And I
good
think by the
job.
time the sun actually did come up, there were probably 60 photographers at least scattered around me.
Mm. Wow. Wow. It's a beautiful piece, beautiful place
Yeah.
too. I think the next one is
Then
that
I should say it's in Arches or Canyonlands National Park in Utah, so near the Moab area.
Okay, and
And
through
this
your
is how I,
website on North Shore Images, through your website, people can order pieces like this any size they want, and they could get something like what you have here.
yeah, actually right now I have limited e-commerce capability on my website. They can only order paper prints. So if there's something that they see that as far as like more like this 3-piece or maybe a framed image that you might show, that's something you'd contact me directly, and we can work out sizing and framing. And I even have the ability to, if people send me a picture of their space and give me a few key measurements, I can take the artwork and superimpose it on their wall so that they have a good idea of how that artwork will look in their space before the artwork's even created.
Wow, wow, and they could do that through your website, I mean through your email, probably.
Yes, yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
D
All they have to do
Barthel.
is all they have to do is send me an image of their space and some dimensions that I can work with so that I know the distance between like two objects in their space, and we go from there.
Wonderful,
And
wonderful,
that email is dbarthel@northshoreimages.com.
wonderful. All right, our next
All
piece
right.
here.
And this is a piece I've had for quite a while now, I think about 7 or 8 years. I captured it at Split Rock Lighthouse, and it's actually my most popular image that I sell in a larger format. And I think part of there's two reasons I think it's so popular. Is one is it's a beautiful sunrise with a unique perspective that you actually don't see very much on the shore. So, on the Split Rock Lighthouse shore, I should say. So I think that's a big part of why it's so popular. And I think panoramas just are more popular in general. And so people like to put them over their sofas or above their fireplace. I've had several put them above either, and it looks absolutely beautiful.
Hmm. Timing with this photo too, with the sunlight, just right
Yeah.
there. Beautiful.
And that's the framing style that I typically show that piece in, and that's also the most popular way that people purchase that one. It's a 20 by 60, and with the frame, it's about 28 by 68 overall dimensions.
Oh, wow. Stunning, stunning. The next piece here, so
That
another
one I call
beautiful light.
Quiet Dawn, and I captured that in Grand Marais back in fall of 2014. And what happened that time is the 2 preceding days when I was at that spot, the waves were really crashing against the shore. And I got some interesting images those 2 days, but this was the day where everything was calm again. And there were some puddles left over from all that wave action. But when I was there was a thick fog that was just hanging on the horizon. And so when I was there at sunrise, I wasn't sure if I would even see the sun come up. And so I waited and waited and waited, like photographers do. And I almost gave up. And then all of a sudden I saw the horizon brightening. And pretty soon the glow of the sky started coming through the glow of the sun. And I was able to capture this amazing image, which has also become one of my most popular.
Patience paid off with this one, for
Yeah.
sure.
And that's my most popular presentation of that, is a 3-panel triptych. And
Beautiful.
the size I displayed in is 40 by 60, but I've done it any size between 24 by 36 all the way up to 40 by 60, and I probably could even go a little bigger. 48 by 72 would even work.
Wow. Wow. I love that you're sharing with us, what the possibility of a piece could look like on a wall too. That's
Yeah.
people really appreciate that, I'm sure, people viewing this. I'll let you share with this piece.
All right. This one was the first time I really saw some epic waves on Lake Superior. This was back in 2012 in October. And I was just up there photographing fall color, and it turned out the day started becoming more stormy. I think we had some sun in the morning, but the day gradually deteriorated. And I was kind of watching the waves on Lake Superior, and they just kept building throughout the day. And I made my way toward Grand Marais and saw how they were catching against the break wall where the lighthouse is standing there. And throughout the afternoon, I shot photographs in several different areas of Grand Marais. But this particular moment where the waves were coming against the lighthouse was a highlight for me. I was in a protected area. Some people ask me if I'm on the water, and no, I wasn't on the water. But I was in a protected area, and actually I was able to stay relatively dry too with my camera and lens and everything. And it's one of those things where every time a wave comes in, you fire off a bunch of shots to try to get the wave that looks the angriest and kind of presents the mood of the day. And this was it.
Hmm. Wow, another being patient pays off, huh? I know the next
Absolutely.
piece too is on your wall behind you. I think our next piece here.
It is. This one I call Raging Roller, and I captured this in Tettigouche State Park 2 years ago in October. So this was more recent, and this was this was the biggest wave action I've ever seen on Lake Superior. And the nice thing about this particular spot is that when you got the 20-foot waves coming in, they crash against the cliffs, and that water would come back down into a waterfall. And so with this image, I almost call it a once in a lifetime image, because I captured not only a curl in the wave, but the water coming down from the last wave at the same time. And so to capture both of those primary elements in one shot, I just think I got the shot and really captured some of the angriness of that day.
Beautiful. The waves and the shore, yeah, the energy in it is
It
wonderful.
it's so powerful to see it.
Here we
Yeah,
go.
this is how my booth normally looks like. This is at a show last year, and so that I included this image just to kind of give people an idea of some different framing options that I provide, as well as a presentation. All of these images are on canvas, fine art canvas, and the ones that aren't framed are gallery wrap canvas, so they can be displayed without a frame. It has a little more of a contemporary look, but they can pretty much go anywhere. And then a couple of different framing options I have too. And I actually was able to participate in a show this year down in Lakeville this past weekend. And so I was really pleased with how that turned out.
Wonderful. I think we have a couple more pieces here. All right, how about this piece here?
All right. Do we see it?
Yeah. Oh, you don't think it's the trunks with the gnarly roots. It's called gnarled cedars.
Okay. It looks like the video is frozen up on my end.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, not on ours. Maybe it'll catch up. So let's start from the beginning of this photo here.
Okay. As soon as, yeah, once I see it.
Yeah, it's not on our end. So if you could talk about the gnarled cedars, and I think this will be our last piece then.
Yeah. So the gnarled cedars and falls. Well, let me start over. So this piece I call Gnarled Cedars and Falls. It's actually an image I captured in Gooseberry Falls a number of years ago, actually before I even got into doing art festivals. And this image has attracted a lot of attention because it reminds people of, like, say, The Hobbit or Harry Potter. And I've even had somebody say that it looks like a scene out of a horror movie. So it's kind of interesting how different images resonate differently with different people and how they react with them.
All right, wonderful. Thank you. Let's look at the last piece I do want to bring up before we close is the book here, the photo tour of the
Yeah,
northeastern Minnesota North Shore, Duluth. I'd like you to talk a little bit about that too.
sure. That was a project I worked on about 2 years ago, and got a email from a local publisher here that was interested in doing a book that was similar to a book they had on Twin Cities. And so they wanted me to write the book and photograph the different locations in Duluth and up on the North Shore. And I was initially a little reluctant to do the project at first because it's a little different than what I do. I normally do fine art photography. And so this was a little bit more capturing the locations in a more fast-paced manner, and then moving on to the next subject. And basically I probably had like 80 or more subjects I had to photograph. So it was an interesting project to do, and I'm glad I did it because I think it's a book that provides people access to different North Shore and Duluth landmarks that they may have never known of or may have never heard of, and to get to experience that, I think is important for people. And so I'm glad I was able to photograph and write that book.
Mhm. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, David, for sharing that book with us. And again, people can reach out to you at northshoreimages.com, on your email. They can reach out to you also with that. And I just want to thank you for your patience too with pulling something like this off. Doing something virtual and having to really work with technology, and we really appreciate everybody's patience with the pieces that we sometimes don't have any control over. So,
Right.
so I appreciate that, David. And your work just stands right through any sort of technical issue. The beauty of it just stands right out. So it speaks for itself for sure. So is there any dream project you have before we close out today?
Yeah, I would say, well, some people could consider the book as a dream project, and it was a nice project, because not many people get a chance to write a book. So I consider that somewhat of a nice project to have done. I would say the biggest dream project right now that I have that I plan to be working on is developing an e-commerce website where I can actually show off the artwork with previews with the framing, or how some images are split into panels, like the 3-panel triptychs, so that people can order off of the website directly without having to contact me to order a piece of artwork, and be able to visualize what it looks like without having to interact with me. I think that's the way the future is going, is more online business and e-commerce. And so I definitely want to be a part of that going forward. And so I'm excited about that. And I kind of hope to plan to have that up by the holiday season this year. So if we can get that to happen, that would be great.
Wonderful. Well, we'll make sure our audience will watch for that and look for that e-commerce. But even prior to that, they can reach out to you and get a piece and really work one-on-one with you, which I think is a
Yep.
wonderful option also. And you gave us so many great images of what's possible with your work. And thank you so
Yeah.
much for sharing your story and your background and your beautiful image with us. We really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm glad to be a part of this, and it was nice talking with you guys, and look forward to being part of Millstream again in 2021, hopefully.
That's right. We'll give you your corner, David, right there.
Yes, I've had that corner since day one, so
People know where to find you. They know where to
that's right.
find you. Well, we'll look forward to that. You take care, David. It was nice visiting with you.
You as well, Alicia. Thank you.